The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences only, so don't tell your parents! Listener discretion is advised.
In the immortal words of Shaquille O'Neal, let's green egg and ham it.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. My name is JD. Unfortunately, Kyle could not be here because he had to go to work and be a responsible adult and all that. Whatever. But Matt's here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be all right. We'll persevere, Kyle, in your stead, and we'll pray for your safe return. To whoever. But this week, we were talking about, I'll be honest, I didn't even realize this was a thing until about, a couple days ago, when I saw a bunch of animators posting about it on Twitter, and then I just happened to look on Netflix and be like, there is a Green Eggs and Ham Netflix cartoon.
Yeah, I was kind of taken by surprise too. I'm sure I must have heard about it when they originally announced it back in 2015.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really thought about it up until maybe 3 weeks ago, a clip from the show. Netflix posted a clip from the show or whatever, and I saw it on Twitter, and just like everyone else, we're all remarking man, this animation's really well done.
Yeah,
for Green Eggs and Ham of all things.
That's the thing. It's if you told me just last week that there's this we're gonna make a 13 episode TV series,
13 episode half-hour episodes,
exactly, off the Green Eggs and Ham Dr. Seuss book, and it's gonna have near feature animation quality.
That never dips.
You're crazy.
That never dips. It maintains that level of quality the whole time. It's insane.
And it's on the one hand, I'm amazed because it's it's consistent for 13 half-hour episodes. But on the other hand, it's also done by Warner Brothers Animation. So it's Warner Brothers can do really good stuff.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think so with that. If you put it up against probably everything else they put out this year, as far as I don't know, because they do a lot of directed DVD stuff too, and that's it's weird because the animation's amazing, but the color palette remind in certain scenes I would think, man, the color palettes are really reminding me of one of those directed DVD Scooby-Doo movies, or one of the Tom and Jerry's,
right,
yeah,
it's very colorful.
It is very colorful,
but I mean, yeah, the animation is astounding. And I want to say it's astounding for a TV show. I want to put it that way. I told my wife before I really did any research about this, we literally only watched 2 episodes of it. And it was you know what? If you would have just showed me a clip of this and said it was a movie, I'd believe you.
Yeah. I honestly, when I heard about Green Eggs and the Ham, I thought it was a movie. When you guys mentioned wanting to do it for the podcast, which is hilarious because Kyle's the one that originally said, "Hey, we should do it for the podcast," and then he wasn't able to partake, unfortunately. But yeah, I just assumed that it was a movie, and then when I found out, no, it's a whole ass 13 episode half-hour show, and I just went, wow, really? And I didn't know that it was it's got an overarching storyline the whole time. You can't just go in on a random episode. It's literally all linked.
Yeah, each episode runs right into the next one. So I mean, for sure. And I mean, just the pedigree in the cast and who's backing this, just everyone involved with this, you could swear this is this was supposed to be a movie or something, because I mean, just in the voice cast, you got Michael Douglas, Adam Devine, Keegan-Michael Key, Eddie Izzard, Diane Keaton, Tracy Morgan shows up for an episode.
John Turturro, Billy Eichner.
Yeah,
And of course, because one of the characters is like a creature, you need D. Bradley Baker to come in there to do all the noises.
Yeah. The theme song is written and performed by the lead singer of Weezer.
Yeah, Rivers.
Ellen DeGeneres is one of the executive producers on this.
Yeah, I saw that too. Honestly, I'm not like a big fan of that theme. That's one of the only things I feel like.
Yeah,
I don't want to say detriment, but I don't know. I feel like there could have been something better for the theme. Like I don't want to say I love Weezer, but I do like Weezer. But yeah. Oh, anyway.
Well, I don't know if Weezer entirely had an involvement in the theme song. I think it was just the lead singer.
It's Rivers. That's Weezer.
It is one of the things I do enjoy about Netflix over the other streaming services. It gives you an option to skip the intro.
Well, the intro though, the animation on the intro is like immaculate though too. Like
yeah, for sure.
So it's worth watching for that. Like at least watch it for the first episode for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you grew up and you were read this Dr. Seuss story, I mean, the book is bare bones. It's literally Sam I Am, and the book never really mentions the other guy's name.
It doesn't.
Literally just Sam is just trying to get him to eat green eggs and ham for like 10 pages. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, you know what? I was trying to remember. I meant to look this up before the show, but I forgot. But I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that the book Green Eggs and Ham was originally created as like a bet. Like
it was a bet with his publisher that
he can only use a certain amount of words.
He could only use 50 words, only up to 50 words.
Yeah.
Because apparently he like did Cat in the Hat with like 200 some odd words, and he made a bet with his publisher that he couldn't do it with less. So literally Green Eggs and Ham only contains 50 words.
And Netflix decided to put $5 to $6 million per episode behind a 13-episode half-hour show for Green Eggs and Ham based on something with less than 50 words.
Right, and I'll give them credit, man.
No, they made a great decision.
Yeah, I mean, the story that they pulled out of this is, I had fun with the storyline they had, and like, there's like some emotional depth at points in this that like I was not expecting out of a show like this.
Anytime they develop like backstory for a Dr. Seuss character, it seems like so weird at first, but then like when you get into it, it's like, yeah, okay, I can vibe with it. Just because you think of Dr. Seuss and you're just thinking like, oh, funny words and rhymes, and not to say like I mean like there's stuff like the Lorax, which has like a pretty meaningful messages behind it. I mean, that's not to say that there wasn't other meaningful messages behind other Dr. Seuss books and everything, but that's it's not something that like I think kids really come away like sort of like. That's kids look at the drawings and the wording of everything, and it's just that's kind of like the entertainment value for the most part,
right? But yeah, I mean, fuck, what was I gonna say? I had it. I mean, I can fairly say, aside from like the original like Grinch special, this is probably like the best, or at least second best, Dr. Seuss adaptation, just period, in my opinion.
Talking like cartoons, or
no, like I mean in general. I'm talking about like the other movies they made or whatever.
I don't know how I feel just yet. No, it's really good. It's definitely up there, like definitely top 5. I don't know that anything could beat the live action Grinch for me though. That's such a good. I love that. It's such a good. It's such a good adaptation.
I feel like the live action Grinch has not aged well, and I have not. I almost refuse to watch Illumination's Grinch movie.
Oh yeah, I wanted to bring up. I couldn't remember if you guys covered it last year. I was going to see if you guys wanted to potentially do it this year, but that's a discussion for later. Anyway,
you let us know in the comments if you want us to cover Illumination's Grinch movie for Christmas this year.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as that, because I mean, most of the adaptations that exist of Dr. Seuss's work are from like the 60s, 70s. Like there was the Grinch special. Everyone knows that one. They did a special for Green Eggs and Ham too. They did Cat in the Hat. They did like the Grinch is a Cat in the Hat. Halloween is Grinch Night.
Right.
Tons of stuff. They did tons of stuff, but it was mostly all from there. And then like, yeah, once the 2000s hit, like they started getting serious with the adaptations again, like starting with the live action Grinch, followed by the live action Cat in the Hat,
which we don't talk about anymore.
There's some great parts in that movie though too.
Yeah.
And then there was a bit of a lull there, and then they started just doing all the CG movies, like they did. It was Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah,
they did the Lorax
and
Grinch.
Yeah, which is it's really weird because Illumination, I feel like, did Lorax pretty early on in their like mainstream films, and I swear all of their human character designs look like they were like they never evolved from the Dr. Seuss human style that they had in Lorax.
Oh, you think like if they had snouts instead of like they would just look
yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just their human designs in every movie seem like they're from the from the Lorax movie. Like, because they like the Lorax movie had like a Dr. Seuss, inspired design for the humans, and I feel like they just kind of use that same kind of design for all their other movies, and then it's even stranger that they go back to Dr. Seuss within the last year or two.
I think they're doing Cat in the Hat next. I think. Are
they?
I think so. I think that might be on their docket. I might be wrong. It's either they're doing Cat in the Hat or somebody else is doing Cat in the Hat, but I know that there's another adaptation of that being made.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah, no, that'll be interesting to see once they because I don't know what else aside from that the Illuminations got booked up aside from the Mario movie. And so that'll be interesting to see what they do with the designs for that.
Oh, listeners, I don't know if I made it clear, but I do not care for Illumination.
I'm not actually that familiar with their work. I don't know that I've seen. I don't know that I've seen any of their movies all the way through. Actually, because I actually haven't seen any of the Dr. Seuss adaptations either. Like I've seen bits and pieces here and there, but
I've seen the Lorax. I've seen the first 2 Despicable Me movies. I've seen the first Secret Life of Pets, not mostly against my will.
Did they do Megamind?
No, that was DreamWorks.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, I don't think I've seen an Illumination movie actually.
Then count yourself lucky.
Well, I mean, once that Mario movie comes out, like I gotta see that at obligation to Nintendo. I mean,
yeah, we'll see. Maybe if Nintendo like watches them like a hawk and keeps on them about it.
That's the thing that's going to be interesting with that movie is because Nintendo is so protective of their IPs that it's going to be weird to see, like, yeah, if there's going to be a clash between like design sensibilities. Like, I'm wondering, like, in what direction they're going to lean with that. Like, exactly how I don't want to say exaggerated, but kind of like how much of the design is going to be Illumination's work and like not just straight from Nintendo.
Right. But yeah, Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah, sorry, we went off a little tangent there.
Got a bit of a tangent there. Sorry.
It was related.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss and all that.
So yeah, I like that they've really expanded on the source material. They do kind of dip back into the book. I mean, every episode is basically titled after one of the lines in the book. Of like where or with
it's
who,
like here, there, anywhere, goat, box, dark, fox, yeah, that type of thing. And that's like that episode, yeah, kind of ties that in. Like there's in the corresponding episode, there's a scene that is a throwback to that particular scenario from the book.
Right. And I will say that one of the thing that kind of took me out of the episodes when it happened is when Guy is like reciting the lines from the book of saying, no, he will not eat green eggs and ham in such place or with such thing. He's like, I will not eat it on a boat or something. And I was like, just like the way that his dialogue is written otherwise, it really kind of clashes the way he says it. Just because they're obviously worded different. But I get it. Like you're trying to keep the source material in there as much as you can. So I mean, I get why it's there, but like just because it's so oddly phrased compared to all the rest of his dialogue, it's just strange.
Did it bother you in the last 2 episodes when he did like the whole spiel?
Yeah, a little bit. like the very end where he like finally tries it and then goes on the entire, like basically recites the entire end of the book. Yeah, like it was very strange to watch that. I mean, I get it. It's like the entire season has been leading up to this moment. And so, yeah, it's going to be a little over the top. But like, again, because the phrasing of the book is different than how they write the dialogue for the characters, it's just, it clashes a little bit, but you know, it's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought it was fun when they did that, just because, yeah, just like the throwback to the books. They wanted to link it in that way. Yeah, it was so bizarre. Like, I watched half of the show in one night, and then I watched the rest of it the next night. And like in between that time when I was at work, I did go to the book section of my work, and I did find Green Eggs and Ham. And I was just sort of leafing. I was leafing through it, and I was just like, because obviously I hadn't seen it or read it or thought about it like in so long. But yeah, it was just crazy to see like it really is just the perfect perfect sort of structure for a road trip like sort of storyline that they did for the show. Like it adapted like very well. Like I'm like still kind of amazed that they managed to link that all up in that way to give it like the overarching storyline, and then like also, like I said earlier, like actually giving all these characters depth, like not even just the 2 mains, not just Sam I Am and Guy Am I. There's the characters like the characters from the book, like the fox and the goat and stuff that they develop, but then there's also characters that they invented specifically for this show that I feel fit in like very well, and I enjoyed watching their dynamic and like kind of like their individual, because like there's always like 4 different story things going on at any time, and sometimes they like cross over. It's mostly like the stuff between Guy and Sam, the stuff between Michelle and EB, so that's like the mom-daughter stuff. The stuff between McWinkle and Glunts, the bad guys, which
Cody Fingers bad guys.
I do want to go on record and say that Glunts is the best character.
I did get a kick out of it, but I will say their big reveal in the last couple of episodes where they're like, we're not actually a bad guys. Bad guys is an anagram.
Yeah, bad guys.
It's like, that's I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, spoilers for Green Eggs and Ham, but bad guys stands for Bureau of Animal Defense, Glurfsburg, Upper Yipville Section.
Right.
And they it's surprisingly not like a last episode reveal. They actually reveal that like a little past halfway in the season.
Yeah.
And like
because it's after Guy visits his parents. They're talking to his mom, and I'm like, no, we're not. We're good guys. We're just called bad guys because
they show the card,
because they've kept flashing the card for like the entire show every time someone says bad guys, and like at that point they finally flip it over to show you what it actually means.
Yeah, it was weird. I actually didn't. I didn't anticipate the the kind of twist, just because I probably should have, because of how telegraphed they kind of said like, oh no, we're the bad guys. Like, but then I was also thinking, yeah, but it's like a Dr. Seuss thing, so
Right.
it was kind of hard to tell. Like, if I don't know, I feel like if they would have, like, they could have done this in the books and just called them the bad guys, and like they were actually the bad guys, and like I would have
Right.
believed it, and I believed it up until that point.
Yeah.
Uh,
Speaking of twists, there was like one I didn't see coming at all because they really hadn't hinted at it. And there's one that I didn't really notice at first, but when my wife brought it up, it kind of makes sense. So first, like, when Sam reveals that, like, because the entire time he's always making references to his like, oh, me and my mom used to do this and this and that. So when he finally reveals that, he made it all up, and like his mom dropped him off at an orphanage when he was really little. My wife, when we were talking after watching that, she was like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming because like he seemed to mention his mom like a little too much. Like he was like over embellishing, and like Sam seems really needy and clingy.
yeah, and they show a lot of that, like in the first, if not the first episode, the second episode. Like, there's the bits of him like in the diner, like, oh hey, gonna be doing this thing in my house, everyone's invited, blah blah blah, and then like he gets home and he's got all this like, well, the whole point of well, yeah, so we actually haven't talked about what the actual like main plot of the show is. The main plot of the show is there's a rare animal called a chickaraf, and there's a rare animal called a chickaraf, and it gets stolen, and it's revealed that Sam is the one that steals it. And for a long time there, you think that you're led to believe that he's like an animal rescuer, and that he's bringing it back to his natural habitat. And then like it's revealed later on that he was actually a double agent. Like he's actually going to be selling it to this Trump stand-in.
Kind of.
I mean,
this
let's
rich
not
businessman
with a wig and just pompous, and like, I mean, let's be real.
I'm sure there's a little inspiration there.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's weird because there's this interaction between Sam and the chickaraf without any of the other characters on screen, that it's weird when they do reveal that twist. Like, it's and of course, I mean, that's obviously that way because they couldn't do that in the second episode. It wouldn't be a twist after all. But
right, I did like I think it's in the second to last episode where the bad guys like tell Guy that like, oh yeah, Sam's like a con artist and he has like all these different aliases, and then you could just see Guy cycling back through like every conversation they've had through the entire season, and like it gives an entirely new context to like why Sam doesn't know shit about animals.
Yeah. I did enjoy that. That was
so it's like it was like interesting. Like I kind of like that where they have technically been giving you hints, and then they kind of like finally lay everything out by cycling back through everything, and it's like, oh, okay, that gives entirely new context to that conversation from earlier. So
yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, I felt it was a little cliche how their adventure gets started. Because like the second that like Sam walks into the diner and he's like, oh, starts talking to guys like, we have the same briefcase. It's like, okay, well, obviously Guy is going to pick up the wrong briefcase. He's going to walk off with it. So I mean, you got to get your adventure started one way, I guess. But
yeah, it's a cliche, but it's a tried and true cliche.
I guess so. But yeah, they're trying to get this chickaraf back to its natural habitat, quotey fingers, and they keep running into this mom and her daughter who Guy, who was an interesting decision. They decided like, oh, he's going to be an inventor. Like that's his like his aspirations in life. She kind of like scoffs when he's like trying to show off his invention at this big company. And then like she becomes like a main character and kind of pretty much a love interest for Guy, which is strange for a Dr. Seuss story that like, oh, we're gonna feature a romance throughout this entire season. But
that was like I wasn't anticipating that, and it was an interesting decision, but
I thought it
was fine.
I did think it was handled very well. And I thought it was kind of interesting to like show like kind of these older characters kind of developing this friendship romance. I don't know, because that's like this middle-aged mom and this middle-aged dude, and obviously the mom is like super overprotective of her kid, and Guy is like lying to her at every turn, but not like intentionally, and it's like constantly having to like explain himself, and like they go back and forth about like, I don't trust you, but okay, that makes sense, so I like you again, and then they do that like at least 2 or 3 times before the end, and they get together by the end, and
I think the reason why it works though is just because, like I mentioned before, it's how much depth they give to the characters. Like, we mentioned the stuff with Sam and like being an orphan and sort of. Oh, and actually, that was one of the things too. Is the reason why he's so obsessed with green eggs and ham was because that was like one of his only memories of his mother before being given up for adoption was like being made breakfast, and so that's like his obsession with that is because he tries it everywhere, and he's trying to remember like the exact taste of like the way that his mom made it in hopes of like finding her. And I thought, wow, that's like that's a really interesting way of sort of
why he's so obsessed with it.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, in the book, of course, it's sort of just played because in the book, it's probably you're kind of meant to believe this. All the events of it happen, all relatively one after the other, like pretty quickly. But then, like in the show, it's all drawn out like over probably like a week or something. But anyway, so just the depth that they give the characters between Sam and then Guy being like a failed inventor, who just kind of
paint watcher.
He's going to be a paint watcher. He gives up on like all of his ambitions, and like, he visits home, and he's got a very loving, supportive family and everything. The stuff with the Trump stand, I just remembered his name, Snurs, like him kind of being like he has an obsession with like collecting these animals because he had a pet when he was younger that his mom let out because his mom couldn't stand to see the overbearing nature.
He was literally smothering that animal.
Yeah. The stuff with Michelle, who was like, because when you're introduced to her, she's like a literal bean counter. And
I did like a lot of like the literal job titles.
The bean counters and
like
pencil pushers.
They're bean counters and pencil pushers. They let it go into a room. People are counting beans and pushing pencils across tables.
And they did the same thing when they were talking about Guy's family too, where they're like, "Oh yeah, we're movers and shakers and the breadwinners, and used to move mountains."
Olympics.
Yeah, that was great.
Or he moved mountains.
Yeah. So, and then Michelle's thing was, she's a literal bean counter, but then she's like this, overprotective mother to her daughter. And it's like revealed over the course that like, she wasn't always that way. Like by the end of the show, they end up going like their main destination, the whole show, like all the characters is trying to go to Meatville, and they finally get there. And then like Michelle takes her daughter to this art museum, to show like, oh no, this is what I used to do before you were born. Back when your dad was still alive, I used to be an artist. And like, they sort of build this connection through art over the show too. And
honestly, like leading up to them going to the art museum, I think it was handled really well in the foreshadowing when they were at the bed and breakfast, and Evie's trying to like color, but her mom's like, "Oh no, you should do this," and she's like trying to teach her contour drawing.
Yeah,
which is like, your daughter is 10; she'll learn contour later. Just let her scribble.
Yeah,
but it keeps showing, you see a couple of Michelle's actual drawings. There's like she's actually really good at drawing. She like pretty much draw all the characters on model and stuff. So it's like interesting to show like, oh, she has artistic skill, and obviously her daughter has an interest in art, but like they get to Meatville, and like they stop in front of like this crazy toy store that has a roller coaster in it, and she's like, no, we're not going there, we're going to this other place. It's much more exciting. And they're going to the art museum, and she shows like, here's this giant painting I made. Like, but I like that she doesn't reveal that it's hers until after her like daughter is like enraptured with this painting.
Yeah, because it looks like the stuff that EB had been, that some of EB's drawings like that you see, like it's
Right.
very sort of like maybe not totally abstract, but sort of like it's not like the drawings that you see Michelle doing, like, staying in the lines and very on model sort of stuff. It's like very like, big sweeping strokes of like colors and all that stuff. And like, yeah, I did like the reveal on that, because then it sort of like pans over, and like it's this giant painting, and like EB, and like it pans over, and like you see Michelle's like signature on it, and like, yeah, that whole like conversation, like that was actually I think that was one of my favorite scenes in the show, actually.
Yeah.
I
do like that they kind of show, like, finally confirmed that, like, yeah, Michelle had like this more free going lifestyle, back when Evie was younger. And, because of the passing of her husband, she had to kind of like, really kind of grow up, and like had to really step up and take care of her daughter. But I guess like I feel like that explanation doesn't really give weight to like why she's so overly protective. Because basically it's shown like in the beginning of the series that like Evie is not allowed to do like anything look remotely fun. Or
they got their genuine friendship bracelets that like link them up together, like,
right. So it's like, I mean, and over the course of the series, I do like that they show like Michelle loosening up a bit. Even like because like she and Evie had that big fight where she says her mom is no fun. So I mean, I like that they gave her the progression of kind of like loosening up and like learning to trust her daughter more. But like the explanation we're given is that like, oh, the dad passed away, so they decided to move to like the
Glurfsburg.
Right, they decided to move to the suburban town because it's a safer place. But I feel like there should have been some explanation for like maybe some kind of event that made her, like, maybe the reason they left Meepsville was because of some like event, like some horrible event, which would lead her to be like this super overprotective mom.
I kind of just generally assumed that the passing of the husband was kind of like related to that particular aspect.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. But the way she describes it, like she seems very calm about it when she's explaining that entire situation. So I guess for me, it doesn't necessarily connect to her overprotective nature.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Sense.
Yeah. They probably could have approached that a little differently. And probably would have made a little more sense. But I thought,
who knows? Maybe that's something they get into, because I guess there's supposed to be another season of this, which is
they kind of allude to a continuation in that last episode. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I thought it was funny. It's like because Keegan-Michael Key's the narrator, and he's narrating through the entire show, and he's like, well, that's it, that's the story, this is the end, and then it like just brief like cuts right to like, nope, there's more to this story, because now we got to go on a hunt for Sam's mom. And I say I would love to watch more of this show if they can keep up the story quality and they keep up the animation quality.
Yeah,
because I bet that Netflix and Warner Brothers need to see like how well this does. But I would hate for them to like do a second season and there's like a noticeable drop in animation quality, because like, I don't know, the bar has been set at least for this production. So I would hate for it to go down.
Yeah, like the story content and everything is still very good, but it is elevated by just how great the animation is.
Mhm.
So to see it take a step back in that regard, if there were a season 2, would be unfortunate. I feel like I probably would still check out a season 2 even if it wasn't animated as well, just because I now have this connection with the characters, and like
Mhm.
I did like the story, so I'm like, okay, well, even if the animation weren't as good, I would still watch it for the story because the story's great. A lot of great jokes in there, like a lot of good visual gags. Actually, I wanted to ask, did you have any particular was there any particular bits that you genuinely laughed at, or like any good, like any of your favorite bits, or
Nothing that really stands out. I mean, I kind of like marathon through this show within the last like probably 2 or 3 days. So, I mean, it all kind of runs together. Um, I think just like on the whole, like I was getting a good chuckle out of it pretty consistently.
yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah. Was there
Yeah,
anything that stood out to you?
I did take a list of stuff that I thought was pretty funny. I'm not going to go through them all, but aside from that, there was I was trying to look out for any specific references to other Dr. Seuss stuff, and I only saw 2 specific references.
What did you see?
I saw there was the bit where I can't remember what the hell fell into the ocean, but it like crushes like this family of fish, like this fish family's home. And then they're doing a accident or they're doing like a damage assessment like later on a beach, and like there's the fishes on the beach, and they're like, oh well, there's 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Like,
oh wow, I did not even catch that.
There was that one, and then the other one I saw was there's like some high school graduation happening that Sam
he crashes
he crashes it, and then like he's like at the mic and he just goes oh, the places you'll go,
which
hopefully not jail.
There's a reference to that earlier in the show, when they're in the diner at the beginning of the series. Guy is reading a newspaper and it says on the newspapers, oh, the places you won't go. But I will say I did laugh pretty hard at that joke, only because that book is such a graduation cliche now. Like that is the cliche gift to give a high school graduate. Like I'm pretty sure I got a copy of that after high school.
I wasn't aware of its sort of notability.
Oh yeah, it's awful. Like I swear, like I'd say a good chunk of high school graduation speeches involve it in some way, and yeah, it's a really cliche gift to give.
It was fun the way that they integrated it into that.
Yes, it was like a very knowing jab at it. So I did think that was funny, but yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of other. I was trying to keep on the look for other Dr. Seuss references, but like maybe my Dr. Seuss references are like more of the very obvious stuff, and maybe they kind of implemented like kind of the less known stuff, like you said, the fishes. I did like the fish gag, and I liked that they brought it back like towards the end.
Yeah, that's
again.
They did. Aside from the specific Dr. Seuss references, just tons of really great visual gags. But some of the ones that I really enjoyed were there's a episode where they're on a train, and each train car is like unique. Like there's a train car that's like full of like playground equipment, and there's a train car that's like the quiet room. There's a train car called the model train car, and and there's just like this big model train in the middle of the train car that is the train that they're on. And so Guy is looking down at this model train, and he sees himself inside of the train, and like whenever he does something, like he's copying like his actions, and then like so the bad guys are like on top of the train, and you can see that happening.
I love that they like show that and then he gets freaked out about it and moves on. And I love that he ends up using that later on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like definitely one of my favorite visual gags in the show. And then like some other like some other really funny smaller ones were in the last episode when I can't remember the order when it happened, but I think it's Guy goes to a diner called Justin's Diner, and all the lights, all the lights like flicker on and off, and it says "just die." Like,
dude, we literally watched that episode like tonight, and when I saw that, like, God damn, that's dark for a kid show. Just like, and they hang on that for a second.
There was the in that same, I think it's the last episode. There's that toy shop that you mentioned. It's called Dopaminos.
Yeah,
like that one got like a genuine chuckle.
Weird wordplay in this.
Yeah, this wasn't like a visual gag or anything, but there's the bit in the cabin where Sam is talking to Michelle about like, you know, why green eggs and ham is a perfect food, like goes on this whole spiel, and then Michelle just goes, I'm vegan. And like, and he's like, oh no. Yeah. That was a really good one. Also there was I had a friend mention to me that there's a gag or like a scene that's a reference to Usual Suspects. I didn't pick up on that one. I picked up on the more obvious one, which was, and I knew this as soon as it happened, like when they're escaping prison and they had to go through like a pipe. I was like, this is gonna be a Shawshank Redemption joke, and then freaking Keegan Michael Key does the Morgan Freeman impression, and like Sam throws his arms up in the air with the rain, and like I was like, oh, that's fantastic.
My way, so when they get to the rat in prison, I fucking died because one, I don't know a lot about musicals, but I fucking died when they went into a Les Mis style song.
That was so unexpected. Like, it was hilarious.
What made it even funnier, because my wife looked at the voice cast, the man who the actor who voiced the rat was one of the main characters in Hamilton.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense.
What, and like the entire musical number, I'm like, what fucking kid is gonna understand a Les Mis reference? And it like goes for a while. Like it's a good portion of that episode.
Yeah, that's clearly for the older crowd. Just like what kid's gonna get the Shawshank Redemption joke?
I did like the Shawshank Redemption joke.
It was really good.
It's like they had to tunnel through a mile of oat mush. It's like, and my wife has never seen Shawshank, so I had to explain to her, like in the movie, it's a pipe full of shit.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good homages to stuff in this,
but it's not overbearing. It's not like totally.
No,
like,
yeah.
all the time. Like these are just very specific instances that are just like
right. Yeah, and it's never like treated like, oh, you need to know what this is referencing to get it. It's treated in a way that's like, oh, this is just funny. But yeah. So I think on the whole, I think this is a surprising. This is a surprising watch for me, because I didn't know about this until like a few days ago, and like to have a show based on this source material turn out this well is just very surprising and like very welcome. Because like I'm all for like good animation, and if you can pull a good story out of ostensibly nothing, I mean I'll give you a hand for that. Because we've seen, you know, just as short source material done worse. So I mean, I think all around, I think this is a very, very well done.
Yeah, no, it's got a glowing recommendation for me as well. I would watch it on a boat. I would watch it with a goat. I would watch it in the rain. I would watch it in the dark in a tree. I'd watch him in a box. I'd watch him with a fox. I'd watch it in a house. I'd watch it with a mouse. I would watch it here, there, anywhere. I would watch Green Eggs and Ham.
And
again,
because Netflix is on every device known to man, you can watch it anywhere.
Yeah.
But I guess the important question now is, would you eat green eggs and ham if given the opportunity?
I saw that Subway was doing some cross promotion thing. They had like a green eggs and ham sub, and I thought, yeah, maybe I'll try that. And I was thinking, nah, maybe not.
Dude, it was so weird because we started watching the show and we watched like maybe 4 episodes and I'm like, we're hungry. So I went down to Subway and looked at an advertisement for the show. I'm like, shit. I'm like, I'm seriously taking, like, I feel like I was on an island somewhere and no one, and like, I just was never made aware that this was a thing. But apparently it's been around forever and like people have been following it and there's been advertising, merchandising for it. And it's like, I don't know where I've been.
Yeah.
So it was a nice surprise. I don't know if I would eat green eggs and ham because I don't trust meat that's green.
I was trying to remember if it was. I was trying to remember. I think it must have been like a Denny's or an IHOP that did like a full-on green eggs and ham at one point. Like it must have been a cross promotion for like Horton Hears a Who or like Cat in the Hat or something.
Yeah, I want to say it's IHOP because IHOP does all that kind of crazy shit.
Yeah.
So I remember when the Illumination Grinch movie came out, they had Grinch pancakes.
That's right. That was just covered
and
under
then
green
they had like
slime.
purple pancakes for when the Addams Family movie came out last month.
Yeah, right. Okay. Denny's does do that stuff too, but I think that's more for like I've seen them do it for like Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and stuff like that. So
probably, yeah.
Yeah. And it's all cross promotion junk. I feel like an actual green eggs and ham, yes, I would, but the Subway sandwich version they did, it was like, maybe not in the context of a sandwich, maybe just as a pure unadulterated green eggs and ham experience like Sam intended with that weird little fork.
Man, Sam, like the ways that they invent how to eat green eggs and ham in this, like, almost got really disgusting. Like,
like the shake
when he puts it into a shake, shake. And I love the gag when he orders it. This guy literally shoves an entire ham into a blender.
No, then like when he's he's got like the giant ass straw that's got like these curds of like eggs. Like, oh my god, it was like, and he lifts open the cup and it's just like all this junk still left in the cup. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, so what I did kind of remember one gag that did kind of make me laugh because they kept doing it. Is literally anytime goes into a restaurant and they say the word green eggs and ham, a waiter in the background will just say that they need an order of it.
Oh yeah,
and just keep adding to it. So it's like the one time that like I think it's when McWiggly's finally like figure out how to track Sam. Like he keeps saying green eggs and ham over and over and over again, and so at the end of the gag, they just bring out like 5 plates of it.
Yeah. That was a good one too.
But yeah. So yeah, guys, there you go. If you haven't watched this, we greatly encourage you to watch it because it's really well animated, but it's also
support good animation.
Yeah, and it's just a fun show. Like I get it, it's from a very basic Dr. Seuss story, but like they did a lot with it, and I applaud them for it. So yeah, in the comments, let us know what you thought of the show and where you would eat your green eggs and ham.
You should eat it while listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast.
You know what? If you're listening to our podcast and you're eating eggs and ham, I want you to send me a picture of it. Just post it on Twitter or something, because that'd be hilarious. You could Photoshop it to be green. I don't give a shit. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for listening, and we will catch you all again next week with, I don't know. I have to check the schedule.
Something.
Something, I'm
Definitely
sure.
something.
Definitely something. All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll catch you later.
See y'all later.
Thanks for listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. Join our Discord to chat with us, and subscribe to our Patreon for some cool bonuses. Links are in the description. We'll see you next time.